Hello, everyone. I'm Jaleh from the Art of Jaleh. Welcome to my channel. I'm so excited that you all are joining me on this journey. I am a photographer, an abstract painter, and I want to share more about why I create art and more about my process and how I started creating in this style. So first, I want to say that this style is new to me. I just started in October of 2020, but prior to that, I have been participating in art and displaying my art in gallery shows and places like that for the past 10 years. I have been a photographer. I studied digital media in college and graduate school, and so just always having a camera with me. I've been taking pictures, taking video for a long time now. I first started showing my art in a gallery. I have a friend, I have a mentor who is an artist too, and she was curating her first show, and she invited me to submit some photography. And so I submitted my photography, and she selected 3 of my photographs for the art show, and that really is what jump-started the idea to create art and to share it in a public forum. So from there, I joined a group in Columbus, Ohio called Creative Women of Color. And the group was all Black women, and we came together and we created art individually and collectively. We had group art shows. We worked together on pieces. So it was a really fun experience, and I loved being in that environment. I moved away, so I didn't participate with the group anymore. And I haven't found a collective like that again. I live in Seattle now, and I haven't been able to find something like that that's like this collaborative process. But I'm hoping to find more artist friends. I've found a few, so it's been fun to get to know other artists again. And so from there, I just continued to display my work, continue to submit my work to gallery shows. I've showed in Portland, and I've had my work in California, in Massachusetts, all over the country, Indiana. So I've had my photography in a lot of different places. And so I started painting. I actually started with watercolor painting. I started about 3 years ago now, and it was just a way for me to relieve some stress after work. I was working full time. I'm also a mother. My daughter was she was under 2 years old at the time, and so I really thought it would be fun not only for me to paint, but to paint with her. And so it was cool because as soon as I started painting, she's like, "Oh, mommy, where's my piece of paper? I want to paint too." So she has always been right next to me, painting alongside me. And so that's always been really fun to see what she creates with the new medium that I'm using as well. So that's really how I started with watercolor paintings. And then I would just share my paintings on Instagram and Facebook. And then I had one friend who said, "I would actually buy that." And I said, "Really, you would buy this?" And she said, "Yeah." And so that gave me the idea, like, wow, maybe, my art is good enough that I could sell it. And not that I was creating in order to sell art. It was really, again, it's more of a meditative, it's very relaxing to paint and to create. And it was different from photography. So that's how I started with watercolors. And then because of the pandemic, I had more time, of course. I was working from home full time still, but still working from home. And then I wanted to really develop my own style as an artist. I wanted to figure out, okay, I can do watercolors, but a lot of people can do watercolors, right? And I was just really mimicking other people's work. So, okay, I want to draw a sailboat. I would draw a sailboat. I would find a picture of a sailboat on Pinterest, and I would mimic it and draw it that way. I think that's how a lot of us create, right? We see someone else create something and we want to do it as well. So it was really fun. But I also felt like I wanted to try some different forms of art. So I got some, I don't even remember how I started with acrylics. Oh, yes, I do know. So, like I mentioned, I was in an art show. I was in an art show right out of Portland in Lake Oswego. It was all about immigrant artists or people who have immigrant background. My father's from Iran. I'm a first-generation American. And so I was in an art show with other immigrant and first-generation Americans and immigrant artists. And I met a guy who was doing art with fluid acrylics, and it looked like watercolor. And I was like, oh, I do watercolor. And he was like, oh, this is not watercolor. This is fluid acrylics. And I was like, fluid acrylics? What's that? I didn't study art in school. Even my photography, I was studying journalism. I was doing broadcast journalism. I was doing news production and film production in terms of creating films. And so the whole art education, I never had that. So he's like, fluid acrylics. I'm like, cool, fluid acrylics. Let me write that down. And so when I was doing watercolor, and then when I wanted to try something new, I was like, let me buy some fluid acrylics, because this man said, I love the way it turned out. So I bought some fluid acrylics, and I never really used them in the style that he had used them in. But then I learned about paint pouring, acrylic fluid paint pouring. And so I tried that style, and I loved it. And it's really messy. And I don't have a lot of space. And so I was doing it outside. And it was just so fun. If you look on my Instagram, you can see some other videos. Even on here on my YouTube, you can see some videos, some early videos of me doing fluid acrylic painting. And so that's how I started doing that. And then I was like, well, let me see what it looks like on canvas. And so I went and got some canvas just from, my local store, nothing too expensive. And I started creating with just scraping the fluid acrylic on the canvas with a thick piece of paper. I wasn't using a squeegee at the time. I was just using paper. And I realized that you could scrape the paint and create different patterns, different styles. And I was like, oh, this is beautiful. I love this. And so I was making all kind of stuff and making digital mock-ups, because again, I studied marketing, and so I was creating mock-ups and making it look like it's in a picture frame and all kind of fun stuff. And so I was just having fun with the whole process, and I was filming myself doing it because I'm a videographer. So it was just like all the elements of my favorite things. I was doing photos, I was doing video, and then I was also creating new art, and I loved it. So I just continued, and then I started looking on YouTube to find how can I do more scrape art. I was calling it scrape art. And I was like, what else can I use besides paper? Because I've only seen this achieved with paper, with thick paper. And then I saw a woman using a squeegee, and I was like, oh, a squeegee. So I went to the store and I got a squeegee, and once I started using the squeegee, I was able to have more control over the designs I was creating. And one day my husband saw my work and he was like, wow, it looks like people. And I was like, oh, it kind of does, doesn't it? So that's when I started intentionally putting the paint in places on the canvas or on the paper, whatever format I was using, to make it look like people. And for me, I had such an emotional response when I realized that it looked like people, because this pandemic has been really hard. And not only that, but like I mentioned, I really do miss being around community. I miss being in a collective that is supportive and is loving and is inspiring, and the people, you can trust them. You can rely on them. You know that they're going to have your back. And so I felt like I was able to display that emotion, that feeling, through these paintings that, yes, look like people, and in a very simple way, achievable way. I definitely have gotten from other people like, this is not art, or this is too easy. But I don't think art has to be hard. It doesn't have to be hard to be considered good. And I have been able to create pieces that are bold and vibrant and that mean something to me. And other people have told me that it means something to them. And that really makes me happy. It's not about the sales. It's not about any of that. I have been able to create and perfect this technique and share it with everyone. So it's just been really fun. And I've been thinking a lot about other people creating in this style. And every time I post a video, people are like, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? And I don't know if I want to teach a class yet, or how to teach I don't know like what format to use to teach a class. Like, do you want to do it on Zoom? I don't like using Zoom. Do you all like using Zoom? I mean, yeah, in person would be better, but it's not really safe to be in person. And also, I have viewers from around the world that are watching my content. I don't know where you are, but let me know in the comments where you're watching from. So I want to be able to connect with people globally, not just locally. So I gotta, once I figure that out, then I'm gonna release a class, okay? But people have been, sharing my art, and it's really cool to see how this technique has just inspired other people to create in new ways, and that makes me really proud. So yeah, that is, and I do want to share that, like I said, that I started doing this with my daughter. She doesn't create in this style. She watches me create, putting dots of paint on the paper, and she's like, Mom, why would you do that? That's weird. That's not how you paint, and so she has her own style. And so kids and people are going to create how they want to. So yeah, I say that because a lot of people are like, oh, well, I think a lot of kids would have fun creating in this style. And I don't know if they would always have fun creating in this style. But again, it's fun to try new techniques because it allows you to find your own personal style. And that's what this technique allowed me to do. It really experimenting with different paints, different mediums, allowed me to find my own artistic style. If you're interested in buying one of my paintings, you can go to my site, jalehsart.com. I'll put the links in my bio. But thank you all so much for watching.